Good evening, everyone. This church don't fall, right? So before I give you the message that I want to give you tonight, I'm going to show you what depression is, right? I'm going to show you what the books talk about depression and some solutions. Then we're going to go into the real topic of the night. I'm going to go brief because the time is of essence. It says depression is a disorder of the brain. It is a serious mental illness that is more than just a feeling of being down in the dumps. Like people say, I'm down in the dumps, I feel low, right? That kind of thing. Or the blues, or for a few days. For more than 20 million people in the United States who have depression, the feelings persist and can interfere with their everyday life. So now you know what depression could be for some people. Depression is far more common than many people believe. Two large categories causes of depressions are what? Situational things in life, like the death of someone or the loss of a loved one. And then the other one is an imbalance of our body chemistry or brain chemistry, meaning something is not connecting right. Everything that I've been talking to you guys from day one, it has to do with your brain. And these imbalances of our body chemistry and all that has to do with certain things that we are not doing right. Ellen G. White talk about healthy living, eating healthy, not working 7 days a week. There are some people that I know of, I'm not saying you guys, I don't know you, but I know of some people who work the 7 days and still come to church. As soon as the pastor starts preaching, they go to work. 7 days. I'm telling you, there is a reason why God say rest. It's not just for you to worship him. It's because we need the rest. Scientifically, rest means that you're going to restore. And we need restoration. We need it physically, we need it emotionally, and we really need it spiritually. And that's why we come to church on Sabbath. And that's why sometimes I look at some churches who pack the church with programs and things to do, and they are not resting. You need rest. When you don't sleep well, you can get depressed. When you don't rest, you will get depressed. Your brain is not balanced. And when your brain is not balanced, not feeding right, not sleeping right, not doing anything right, and you're pushing yourself to the brink, you break. Just like it says right there in these sections, it says broken. You see that? Alone, helplessness. All of that, you feel everything, but some people in church will say, that will never happen to me because I am a Christian. I believe in God, so that will never happen to me. It happens to the best of us. When the what ifs happens, I call it the what ifs. The all of a sudden happens. You're not prepared for the all of a sudden something happened. God forbid, something terrible happened, and we're not prepared for terrible. We're not used to that. We want things to be okay all the time, and we are not prepared for terrible. That's when we break. And no, it doesn't matter how much Bible you know. In that moment, you don't want to know anything. You are imbalanced. And I'm telling you, it's naive to believe that just because you're a Christian, this will not happen to you. It will happen. I don't want it to happen. And the reason why I'm telling you tonight is so that you can be prepared. We have to be prepared. We prepare for everything else, but not for these things. It says right here, the 9 classic symptoms of major depressive episodes from the DSM-5. The DSM-5 is the book that psychologists, in the DSM-5, it says there is at least 9 episodes. One of them is depressive mood most of the day, nearly every day. Depressive mood, meaning that depression is just that you are very sad. Have you ever been sad? Anybody here have been sad before? Who has not been sad? I want to see a person who has not been sad. But that sadness is only for a moment, correct? Sometimes you just work it out and say, you know what, I don't want to be sad no more, and you work it out. Some other people are still sad. They might be smiling at you tonight, but they're dying inside in sadness. And this, what I'm telling you right now, is what is depression looks like. Another way how that you can identify depression, let's say for instance, you're a very organized and clean person. All of a sudden you realize and you look around, your room is a pigsty, a total mess. Nothing is in order like you used to. You haven't taken a shower like you like to. You haven't eaten well like you should. I'm telling you this, don't laugh. This is serious. When you see people not taking showers, it's not because they're nasty. There is something imbalanced going on in here. Of all the things that I spoke to you all these nights, this one is the most important one you need to listen to. You've seen people not acting the way they should or the way they used to. Talk to them. Get them help immediately. They don't know how to ask for help because something is not right here. Because if the depression continue, it could turn into suicide, and we're going to see that in a minute. Okay? Suicide ideations and then suicide attempts. It says a significant weight loss. You start losing weight or gaining weight. People eat anxiously. When you suffer, I forgot to tell you that about anxiety. People eat anxiously. You start eating like you want to finish a big tub of ice cream all by yourself. And that happens. And next thing you know, you're like, wait, I ate all of that? How? Have that ever happened to any one of you? It happened to me. That's why I don't eat ice cream no more. I like it too much, so I left it. I just put it, I look at it and no. I said no. That's another thing. We need to learn to say no to people, to things, to our own desires. Learn to say no. The next 4, it says insomnia. I talked about it already. Insomnia is you're not sleeping well. well. Or hyperinsomnia, nearly every day. You're having issues sleeping. Psychomotor agitator or retardation nearly every day. Meaning the psychomotor, your psychomotor is moving on your hands, you're walking around, all of that stuff. Retardation meaning that you're not responding accurately. You want to grab something, but you're like, oh, I thought I had it. What you knew, what you're so used to do, you're not accurate anymore. You're stumbling, you're falling constantly. These are the things that can tell you, wait a minute, something is not right with me, right? Number 6, it says fatigue or loss of energy nearly every day. Feelings of worthlessness or excessive, inappropriate guilt. You're feeling guilty for everything. Number 8, it says diminished ability to think, concentrate, or indecisiveness. Every minute you don't know, should I or shouldn't I? I don't know what to do. Number 9, it says recurrent thoughts of death. Recurrent suicidal ideations without a specific plan, or a suicide attempt, or a specific plan, or committing suicide. Do you guys know that most people who had committed suicide, they did not want to die? If not all of them. 99% of people who committed suicide did not want to die. There's only that 1% that actually wanted to die. Like that little girl I talked to you a few nights ago. She told me she wanted to die. It's because somebody did something to her. She was only 8 years old, and she didn't like what they did to her, so she'd rather die. This is depression at its worst. It causes these suicidal thoughts and suicidal ideations, and then into suicidal attempts. What happened is that the person, again, the imbalance in the mind, do not let their mind, the rational side, communicate with the emotional side. So you're only making emotional decisions. Later on this week, I'm going to show you those two sides of the brain. So your rational side is will tell you that if you go up an 8-story building, and if you jump from an 8-story building, you're going to die or get hurt really bad. Right? In that moment, the person who go up on an 8-story building to jump, they believe they're going to jump and not even get hurt. They just want to show the person who is causing them pain to see what they're doing, they're making them do. Look what you're making me do. The rational side of the brain is not working. There is an imbalance. So that's why they do these attempts with the idea that they're going to live through it. Look what you make me do. And most of these suicidal attempts happen when there is a break in a relationship. The wife left the husband left the wife, and now they want to show that, hey, listen, I'm going to kill myself if you don't come back with me. But they don't want to die. They just want to show the other person the pain you're causing me, and hoping that the person will come back to them. So these are do you see now the imbalance? Can you see that? How imbalanced your thoughts and your could be when you are when you are depressed. The next, it says depression. Yeah, this is a repeat. Okay. So how does it affect women and how does it affect men? Remember I told you earlier, I think 2 nights ago, I told you that depression affects men differently than how it affects women. It affects men in a most dangerous way than women. Number 1, it says right here, when it tends to women, it says they blame themselves, they feel sad, apathic or worthless, feel anxious and scared, avoid conflicts at a cost, feels slowed down or nervous, have troubles setting boundaries, use food, friends, and love self-medicated. Just like I was telling you, I'm gonna eat this tub of ice cream by myself because I feel sad, right? Or constantly use people, right? And self-medication meaning drinking alcohol, doing drugs, because they want to stop the pain that they're feeling. And this is why we call something that is called a dual diagnosis in people that that have substance use disorders. They are not an addict because of the addiction. It's because of what happened to them. And most of my clients, my patients that I treat, I tell them that in front of me there's not an addict, somebody that is addicted to drugs. They just have to know why. Once you treat the why, the addiction to the drug goes away. The addiction to whatever it is that you're trying to use, because what they did is that they self-medicated to heal from something that is worse, far more worse than what the drugs are doing to them. They don't want to go in here in their mind. That is killing them. So they will self-medicate. We need to have empathy for people with drug addiction. We don't know why they're doing it. We can't just look at them and say, oh my God, look at that, they are drug addicts, and look down on them. That could be you. It could be you. Some people will look at that, I will never be, next thing you know, like, oh, it is me. That fast. Now, with men, it says they blame others. This is why it's dangerous. They never take ownership for what they are doing. They blame others. They feel angry, irritated, and ego inflated. Feel suspicious and guarded. Create conflicts. Feel restless and agitated. Need to feel in control at all costs. This is a person with depression. Does it sound like he's depressed? Or dangerous? Continue to say, use alcohol, TV, sports, and sex to self-medicate. Find it weak to talk about self-doubt and despair. So just like I talked to you about, man syndrome is dangerous for men. I call it the man syndrome because man egotistic nature causes us not to ask for help, because that is a sign of weakness. We need to be in control of everything at all costs. Otherwise, imagine a man that is known to be in control, all of a sudden he realizes he's not in control. Guess what's going to happen to him? He will turn violent towards somebody else and then hurt himself. This is what has been happening all the time here in this country, when somebody starts killing people for no reason and then they turn the gun on themselves. It's exactly this what's going on. This is very dangerous disorder to deal with. And if you feel that you are, or you feel identified tonight by having depression, I'm begging you, get help. It says, treating depression. Now, how are we going to treat it? It says, depression is a very treatable mental, emotional disturbance that many people, if not most people, will experience sometime in life. You see, it says, if not most people, we do get depressed. If you feel depressed, don't feel as it's the end of the world. Just find help, right? It says treatment for depression vary and do not necessarily include medication. So some people will try to give you medication for it. You want to go with the lesser treatments. Let me get a psychoeducational therapy. That's the best way to start dealing with this. Medication comes when you can't sleep no more. You're having a schizophrenic disorders, when you're seeing things and hearing things that other people are not hearing, all of this is connected to depression. Your brain is imbalanced, right? It says treatment may include counseling, talk therapy, light therapy, developing depression management plan, lifestyle changes, medication, or combination of these options. I would tell you, change your lifestyle. You know why most Christians may or may not suffer with some of these disorders? Is because they already made that change of lifestyle. They changed their lifestyle. They're not doing drugs or alcohol or going out or womanizing and doing things. They are working towards or striving to a better life. And when you're striving to or working to have a better life, these things may not occur to you. But if it does, tonight, I'm giving you the tools how that you could identify it and ask for help immediately, because it could happen to anyone, right? It continues to say depression can be a genetic and passed on from generation to the next. Could you believe that? Yes, could. Remember, it's a chemical imbalance. So if notice something. If a mother or the father too is a person who is constantly depressed, chemically, they will pass on those chemicals to the baby while the baby is still in her womb. The baby feels everything mama is feeling. If mommy is hungry, the baby will get hungry too. If mommy is sad, it will disturb the baby, and she will feel it. I don't know if mothers here that ever been sad while they were pregnant. The baby start kicking, and you can see, I got to sit down. I got to calm myself down because the baby is not right. The baby feels what you're feeling, and these feelings are passed on to them, because when the baby is developing inside a mother, they are learning. It's a learning. You take a couple from China, and the baby learns about their lifestyle, their language, the foods that they eat, and you take that baby and bring it to Africa. That baby may not want to eat for days or won't understand you, because it wasn't developed in the right environment. It came out and it's not in the environment where they understood. Notice when a father talked to the baby while it's in the womb, the baby start kicking and reacting because he's understanding the voice that he's hearing. So they're learning. This is why some of these disorders are passed on chemically to the baby, especially if the mother is using drugs or alcohol. It affects the baby too, right? It says pretending that depression isn't real does not help a person recover the quality of life that makes living a pleasure to oneself and thus around us. So you can pretend that that is not real. It is something real. Now, depression and suicidal ideations. I spoke about it a little bit, but we can see it here. It says, although symptoms of depression, suicidal ideation is not symptoms that can be ignored. No one should feel guilty due to suicidal thoughts because it is a part of the disorder called depression. Suicidal thinking is a red flag, a cry for help that needs to be addressed immediately. Life can and does get better for people with depression when they get appropriate help and follow a healthy treatment plan. So you need to find someone to help you immediately. Again, I want you guys to take this seriously and don't take it lightly. Don't take it just as just another night. Somebody's trying to educate me and I'm just going to let it go. Please, whatever you learn tonight, whatever stick with you tonight, well, good cash. Tell others. Tell others. No, signs of suicide. Number one, again, I'm going to give you that number. If you have or known somebody, or you feel that you are having suicidal thoughts and suicidal ideations, text or call 988 for help. Write that down if you want, or put it on your phone, 988. It says, suicidal, the signs of suicide are persons who has been down in the dumps for a long while, meaning depressed. Seems to have loss of hope, talks about harming or killing themselves, mentions their own death verbally or written from, i.e. postings or somewhat they put it in their social media or anything like that. It says is self-medicating with alcohol or marijuana. Some people think, oh, this is recreational. People who do drugs, they're trying to kill themselves. And you know why they're trying to kill themselves? Because drugs are poison. You pick up any bottle of alcohol, wine, beer, it will tell you in the label, this is poison. So literally, you're saying, I'm just going to poison myself. You may not die immediately, just like what Satan told Eve. You're not going to die, but eventually you will. Any self-medication that you're taking, you're killing yourself slowly. You're making your lifespan shorter than what it should. The next one, it says, has recently experienced a tough time, a failing grade, fear of being a failure, the death of a family member or friend or end of relationship, just like I told you earlier. And then it says, it's giving away treasure items. Start giving away their stuff. I give you my TV, my cell phone. That's the treasure items. Young people, will you guys give away your cell phone? So when you see somebody doing that, get them help immediately. Okay? That was a commercial. So it says suicide is a permanent solution to temporary problem, and it needs to happen even though suicidal thinking does not allow for other solutions to become apparent. You know why it doesn't allow for other solutions to become apparent? Because in their mind, there is no other solution. There's no other way. They're caught between a rock and a hard place, meaning they have no other options. This is what their mind is telling them. The rational side of the mind has stopped working, and they're only working with the emotional side, which the emotional side is broken. So we are not suffering from depression right now. We know we have options, but when somebody has depression, they said, this is it. I have no other solution. I have to do this. This is the only way. Is it the only way? I want you to believe that. It's not the only way. And if one day you feel hopeless, helpless, worthless, remember that is not real. It's a liar. It's a lie that your mind is imbalanced and say, you know what? I shouldn't be thinking like this. I need help immediately. You guys promise you're going to do that? All right. Now, here is something I want to talk to you guys about. Do you guys know there's a difference between happiness and joy? How many of you believe they are the same? You say no. Why you say no? You don't want to tell me why. Okay. How many of you thought it's the same? Like, well, they could be almost the same or not the same. You say no or you say yes? You say no. Right? I wrote it already so that you guys could understand. Right? It says, well, happiness is like a vapor. It comes by chance, like by accident, and it leaves just as the way it came. That's what happiness is. Let's say, for instance, you had a birthday party, right? And that was the happiest moment thus far in your life, that birthday party. The people you invited was the right people. They were doing the right things. They were playing the right music. For people that listen to music and birthday parties, the food was excellent. Everybody was happy, and you was ecstatically happy. Here comes the next year, you want to replicate the same thing, and you invite the same people, you cook the same food, you have the same music, the same venue, the same place, but you're like, wait, this doesn't feel right. Something is missing. Why don't I feel what I felt last year? Where is the happiness? Because those are moments that come again, and it's gone just like that. Now, joy, on the other hand, is something that is already living with you. You know what joy is? I just wrote a little bit right there. It says, it's a more long-lasting state of being, characterized by what? Contentment. You know what contentment means? I am glad that this happened. Have you ever been glad that something bad happened to you? Was that a happy moment? No, right? But you were glad that it happened. You know why you were glad that it happened? I'm going to tell you why, without even knowing you. Because you learned a lesson that day. Joy is a compilation of learned lessons. Joy is a compilation of learned lessons. We have many lessons in our lives. Not all of them we learn from. This one, joy, when it's joy, is some lesson that you learn. For instance, the example I told you, being a little boy, that they tell you, don't touch the iron, it's hot. And you go touch it, you got burned. Was that a happy moment? Absolutely not. But guess what? Now that you know, I am not going to touch that because that hurts. That's a joyful moment because you learn a lesson. I remember when I was young, I always was in love with the prettiest girls in the classroom. And I was after this pretty girl, and she wouldn't even look at me. I didn't even exist. I would write her letters. You guys remember those days when you write a letter? Not the young people don't know what is that. They text today. You guys text. We actually wrote. We took a pen, and I would write. My handwriting has to be impeccable. My penmanship was beautiful. I would take this letter and put perfume in it, and put it and seal it, and put all kinds of beautiful things in it, and then run and hide after I left it. That was when I was young. 20 years later, I went back home. I thought I'd seen the same girl. I didn't even recognize her. You see how joyful that was? I say, whew. Lesson learned. That's joy. You know what else is joy? Joy could be, grandma died, and my grandmother, I think she was the best baker in the world. She died with some secrets of bakery that I'm like, I begged her, Grandma, teach me how to do Johnny cake the way you do it. She used to do it in a brick oven, not the conventional oven. She used to do rocks and stuff and put that bread in there. Oh my gosh. And banana bread was a specialty. It makes me sad every time I remember my grandma. And then one day I'm walking and I smell banana bread. And I go, smell like grandma's baked banana bread. I got a little sad, teary-eyed. And then I start remembering how grandma was really funny. She would come up with the funniest stuff ever. And I would laugh and cry at the same time. Did that ever happen to you before? Remembering things like that? That's joy. Joy necessarily don't have to be a happy thing. It's the lessons that we learn in life, the lessons that life brought us together, the togetherness, and then you just remember those things, and that brings you, and you say that gives you strength to move and continue on. That's why joy is there. Notice in the Bible, it talks about more joy and less than happiness. Look up the word joy in the Bible and look up the word happiness. You might not find happiness too much in the Bible, maybe 2 or 3 times. But the Bible talks about joy constantly. Because joy is not always a happy thing, but it's a thing that we are, what? Content with. I am happy, I am content, I am joyful that Jesus died for me. Was that a happy moment for Jesus on the cross? No. But that's a joyful thing for us. Before I go to questions, I'm going to go back up a little bit. Before I go to questions, I want to tell you what the Bible talk about depression. And the best person to talk about depression in the Bible is Job. Job suffered a lot of things in one day. He lost his way of living, everything, all his money, all what he owned, he lost it. And top of that, all of his children died at once, and some of his servants too. Just because Satan wanted to destroy his character. And what was his character? What God said about Job, that he was a righteous man. He was a good man. And Satan said, oh, wait a minute. He's only righteous and good to you because you have this thing around him. I bet you if you take all of that from him, he's going to curse you to your face. There's people in our lives today that want to destroy our character just because we're Christians. Have you ever heard when you do something bad, because we do bad things, the minute the people that you invited to church or your neighbors that know that you're a Christian, you never spoke to them, but somehow they know you're a Christian. The first thing they say, oh, look, and they're Christians. These people want to destroy your character at work, at school. They want to destroy your character. They do Satan's job without even knowing. Satan want to destroy your character. Because he knows that the closer we get to God, right, the more he's going to be destroyed. And he don't want that. He wants us to die with him. And it's no wonder every time you get closer to God, the enemy attacks you more. Have you ever felt that before? But guess what? Your faith is put to the test. You're taking your faith to the gym that time. Do not be dismayed. Don't take no step back, not even to get a good start. Don't take a step back. You continue going forward. Look what Job said, right? He says, then, and I'm reading from the New King James Bible, and I'm reading Job chapter 1 and verse 20. Job chapter 1 and verse 20. And it says right here, then Job arose, tore his robe, shaved his head, and he fell on the ground and worshiped. This is after they told him that everybody died, including his children. And this is what he did. Imagine somebody come and tell you, mom and dad, that all of your children died at once. And look what Job did. He says, and I'm going to read it again, verse 20. Then Job arose, tore his robe, shaved his head, and he fell to the ground and worshiped. And he said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Hallelujah. Did God took away his children? He did not. He did not take away anything. God allowed Satan to do that. And that's why I say to people sometimes when these things are happening, all of a sudden, this gunman went into a movie theater and killed people for no reason. There was some that went in Russia a few months ago in a mall and started killing people in a theater and went out in the mall and continued to kill. I don't know how many people they killed, and then they killed themselves. There were some people in church, evangelism, no, it was a week of prayer. I think it was in Alabama, I think it was. And they welcomed this killer. Each night he came, and they welcomed him. And then last night, he killed most of them. Some people would say, well, they did something wrong, just like Job's friend here. But before I get to Job's friends, then it's Job's wife, right? Job's wife, it says, and I'm reading from chapter 2, verse 9. It says, then his wife said to him, do you still hold fast to your integrity? Curse God and die. But he said to her, you speak as someone of the foolish woman speaks. Shall we indeed accept good from God, and shall we not accept adversity? In all of this, Job did not, what? Sin with his lips. It doesn't say what happened to his wife after that. But sometimes we attack his wife hard because she said these words. But you got to remember, these was her children too. That was her livelihood too. She was suffering too. And you got to remember, when you're grieving, when you're in pain, your rational mind is not there anymore. Job, on the other hand, he was so cling to God, he knew exactly what to do. And in some parts, if you continue to read the book of Job, you could see that some of it, the grief was gaining on him. That he said that he didn't want to live anymore. He cursed the day he was born. That is perfectly fine. People forget this is, if you really have to get into this and understand where people are. Sometimes I remember preaching one time about forgiveness. And I talk about it pompously, like if I knew what I was talking about. It took me to suffer so that I can understand what forgiveness really is. And then I felt bad. I remember exactly the day I was preaching about it. And I said, oh my God, I was so wrong about this. Sometimes we need to go too far to understand what it means to be in pain. We can't just look at people and tell them, you can do this. Take 2 Tylenols, you're going to be all right. No, you need to put your feet in their shoes. Walk a mile with them so you can understand them. I understand Job's wife, why she said the things she said. She was suffering. And the next point I want to do, I want to tell you, and I talked to you about this the other night. There is nothing, absolutely nothing you can tell somebody that is grieving, that is in pain, that is going to make them feel better. You could preach to them all night. That's not what they want. Notice this, and I'm talking about now in the 2nd chapter again, verse 13. Job had 4 friends that came to visit him. 4 of them. 1 stayed outside and 3 came in and sat with him for 7 days. Look what it says right here. So they sat down with him on the ground. They didn't even no chairs. They sat down with him where he was. They met him where he was. They put their feet in his shoes. He was sitting on the ground because the devil has touched his life now. Not his life, but he made him sick. His flesh was falling off. His skin was falling off. He was boils and pus and all. He didn't have no relief, and yet he remained faithful. And when he saw his friends that came and they sat with him, where he was next to him, they didn't scorn him and say, "Oh my God, well look, I can't even go near to that." They sat with him on the dirt with him for 7 days. And it says right here, they sat down with him on the ground 7 days and 7 nights. And no one spoke a word to him, for they saw that his grief was very great. When somebody's grieving, all they need to know that you're there with them. And that made him feel good to have friends. And it wasn't until when they started talking is when they messed it up completely. They started blaming him and said, "You must have done something wrong. You must have did something to God, and God is punishing you." And that's when he started, "You guys should have just kept your mouth shut. You were doing so well. 7 days you said nothing. Now you started to talk." And that's why I'm telling you today, sometimes we say that things that we think is going to help somebody, but that's not what they want. You know somebody's grieving, they may not be eating. Go and cook for them. Don't even say, "I'm going to cook for you." You go cook and bring food to them and say, "I made this little soup for you. I'm going to leave it there when you're ready." Don't push them either when you're ready. I know you don't feel right. You have to be there for somebody. Meet them where they are. That's what Jesus did, and he continued to do. He meet us where we are. When we're in pain, Jesus don't want us to go to church, go do this, read that. No, he meet us where we are. He feed us first. Then he give us the sustenance that we need spiritually. And that's why I'm talking about this, because this right here is deep. Grieving is something that is really hard to talk about. And when you see one of your brothers or your sisters grieving, don't judge them. Because you say, "Oh my gosh," and they're a Christian. They're supposed to know that God is with them, and look at them, they're still grieving. It's been 2 years since their child died, and they're still grieving. The Bible says at the end that God restored Job everything that Satan took from him. Do you think that Job was happy? He was joyful, yes. But don't believe that he stopped thinking about his other children that died. Grieve, remembering somebody could bring you to tears every now and then. But guess what? Just like what we read in the beginning, we have hope. And that's what makes us the difference between them and us. Just like Job told his wife, "You're talking of those foolish people out there. You know better." He put her strictly right where she needed to be. That's why the book don't talk about her no more, because Job fixed that. He said, "Hey, wait a minute. You're talking like you don't know God. You're talking like the foolish people out there. Tonight, I'm telling you, you're going to find yourself between a rock and a hard place. But remember, God is faithful. God is faithful. And you have options. Seek the help you need. Go on your knees and pray and allow people to come to you. Don't shut the door. Leave that door open. Job could have shut his door to these friends, but no, they just walked in and sat down with him. And if a brother or a sister comes to you and say, "My sister, I see that you're not doing well. Do you need help? Don't curse them. Don't run them away. Let them come. Talk to them. There have been 2 people ask me the same question already. What if I'm trying to help somebody and they don't want the help? Don't close that door for people to help you, because you need it. The one thing God does not like is a person that has too much pride. A Christian shouldn't have any pride. A little bit is too much. You shouldn't be have pride of nothing. Notice what the enemy is talking about. I think the last month it was what? Pride month. You're prideful about what? About sinning? So when pride gets in the way, you're shunning away God. You're shunning away angels coming to help you. Because angels doesn't mean the angels that are a little bit above us, created by God. Also, it means the messengers. The word angel means messengers. So a messenger could come to give you a good message, and you're going to shun them away because of pride. And I'm talking more to the man, because men like to do that. Don't talk to me about that. I got this. Don't be too prideful for help. Now, questions? Yes, sir.
I know you just mentioned that you spoke about being sympathetic when people are grieving.
Yes.
But how far does this go to before it gets depression? A good example, like last October, we lost our mom, and one of my sisters cut off communication with everyone and live in different states. And now to come to find out that her grief and depression, that she even started suicidal and was under counseling for depression. And we were told that she was just going to be grieving. And thank God she wasn't living alone. She had a husband who was able to recognize and get her help. So as we fellowshipping together, we may not have that intimacy to know what's going on in somebody's life. When they're grieving, they can actually slip into depression. So how do we actually address that?
It's a good question. First of all, my deepest condolences to you and your family. It was a good thing that her husband recognized what was going on to get her the help. Unfortunately, I'm trying to look for the right words for this. I remember when I was a child growing up in church, our congregation was so tight. We did everything together. We didn't just see each other on Sabbath day. We see each other almost the 7 days of the week. We went to the same schools. We worshiped together. We did things together. So much so, like birthday parties, everything. So much so that we would know when something was going on within the community, within the church congregation. Now, with that being said, I came to this country, and that sadly is not the same. Most of us only see each other on Sabbath. Most of us only know about each other on Sabbath. But other than that, we don't know anything. So it's really hard for you to recognize when somebody's hurting. When I was in the military, the number one killer in the military wasn't war. It was suicide. And the military could not hire enough psychologists and mental health counselors to deal with the situation. So the military deputized each soldier. And the way they deputized each soldier, they gave us a card that's called ACE. In the card, it mentioned that if you see someone to your left or to your right that wasn't acting themselves, ask the question. Get them help immediately. And it worked. The message worked, because immediately I will know that the soldier that was next to me, he was probably bubbly happy, like I told the young ladies a few nights ago. All of a sudden, this soldier's down in the dumps and not acting right, talking out of his mind. Immediately, we go to the person and say, what's wrong? Do you need help? Do you need me to talk to somebody? Do you want me to bring somebody? I know you probably feel proud or prideful about something, but I know something is wrong because you're not acting yourself. And the message worked. So, to answer your question, my brother, all we need is togetherness. We need to fellowship. The word fellowship means that we have to do things together more often than ever. Today's day and age, we're losing our youth to the world. And you know why? Because they're finding a connection out there that they're not getting in here. They're feeling they're belonging out there because they don't feel they're belonging here. We're not giving them the church work that they need to do so that they could feel like, well, I'm going to be the next elder, or I'm going to work in the sanctuary. I'm going to do this. Because the old people are hugging up the jobs that young people are capable to do. We're not trusting them enough, and that's why they come to church and they just do this. And they find something that they actually belong. We need to have them belong. We need to start doing more socials, more things for them so that they can belong. Put them in charge of things. Let go and let them guide them. And that way, youth began youth. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, brother, but I think that's the only solution to this. In my tenure in the military, I believe I saved about 5 people from suicide by just telling them these words. I know you come from any walk in the world. I don't know exactly what you're going through, but I want you to know something. Don't go it alone. I'm going to be here for 48 hours because I was in charge of quarters for 48 hours. I'm going to be awake for 48 hours. Come knock on my door and I will talk to you. I will talk to you. Even if it's in something crazy, but we will talk for you not to think about hurting yourself. And it worked. I remember a young lady came and knocked on my door at 3 in the morning. And she said, I heard your words when I came. I was planning to take my life, and I didn't. I'm still planning to do so, but I want to hear what you want to talk to me about. And I said, why you want to take your life? And she told me she was raped by a captain. And when she asked for help, instead of getting the help, they send her away. And I said, now you're telling me this, and I'm a mandated reporter. So I'm going to report this. If you didn't get the help there, I am going to do everything inside of me possible that you get the help, or they're going to have to fire me from my job, but you're going to get the help today. And I did that. And today that young lady is still my friend. We talk on Facebook every now and then. But that's what we need to do. I was interested in how it happened and who did what. All I heard, I was raped. And that was enough for me. And I got her help immediately. Some people would sit down and say, tell me how it happened. Because they're interested in those things. That's not my job. That's not your job. People will smell that. They're like, why would you want to know details of what happened to me? I needed help. I need help. And right now, I hope not. But if there's any one of you in this congregation right now that needs help, I am here for you. I'm making myself available. I don't know who else would like to make themselves available. But if you want to make yourself available, raise your hand to that person right now so that they know you're here for them. I have one sister, I have the pastor, I have the brother right here. So if you feel like you need help, you have people here that are willing to talk to you. Don't go it alone. Don't think that you are superwoman or superman, that you can get through this by yourself. You cannot. Jesus suffered depression. He knew what he had to go through. And he didn't go it alone. He asked some of his disciples, come with me. Stay up and pray with me. The night he went to Gethsemane, the garden, and he prayed. They said, the Ellen G. White says he was sweating blood. And then he found his disciples sleeping in him, and he woke them up because he wanted somebody other than God to talk to. So yes, don't feel bad when somebody tells you, I want to talk. Yes, I talk to God, but I want to talk to a human being too. I was a teacher in a school in Berea Academy in Boston, and I help a lot of young ladies, high school. And one of the young ladies, just like what happened with the 10 lepers, one of them came back to say thank you. She was the one that she came to me and she said, Mr. Livingston, I want to thank you for everything you've done for me. I want to thank you for being there, listening to me when I have my problems. And we know who to come to talk to. But I have a question for you, she said. Who do you talk to when you have a problem? And she said, do not say God, and please don't say your mother, because she know my mother. And I said, I still don't have an answer to that question. Because I could talk to the pastor, yes. But when I'm talking about what I'm talking about, we need an intimate friend. Somebody that you can trust. Just like David trusted Jonathan. That was his intimate friend. You need somebody other than God and your mother or your father to talk to. Now my question to you tonight, do you have such friend? Do you have a friend to talk to? Young people over there? You still thinking about what I said? You know why they're thinking about it? Do you have a friend to talk to? It's a good thing. Pastor, do you have a friend to talk to? And don't say your wife. That doesn't qualify. That does not qualify. But you know why it don't qualify? Because we don't tell our wives everything. We don't tell our mothers everything. We don't tell our fathers everything. But we do tell a friend everything. Do you have such friend, brother? You do. You're blessed. I thought I had a friend like that. And when I was going through a problem, I told him, and I said, please don't tell no one. And then he said, oh man, I feel so bad for you. Let's go have breakfast. My girlfriend is preparing breakfast for us. I had just told him, don't tell no one. As soon as we walked through his girlfriend's house, he said, darling, guess what he's going through? In my face, I had just told him, don't tell no one. I said, I have no friends. I mean, he's a friend, but he's not one I can trust. It's difficult today, it's difficult to find a friend that you can trust. But guess what? The Bible says that we can trust in Jesus. Yes, I did say you need another human being. Yes, but when you can, and until when you find that person, put all of your care, all of your trust, all of your problem, everything in the care of Jesus. Amen. I don't know, that was a long answer to your question, brother, but I hope I answer it. Any other questions? Remember, we have a box here. If you don't feel like saying your question in public, please write it down. We have papers and everything, and you come and put those questions in this box, and we are going to answer it. Each night, we're probably going to pick one and answer it. And then until we get to the symposium, we're going to answer the rest. So, anybody have questions you guys want to write? No? Okay. Tough crowd. So, I passed a little bit the time, so thank you for having me. I hope you guys come tomorrow. Tomorrow, we are going to talk about stress. See, I'm bringing a lot of good topics. Bring somebody, save somebody.
What blessing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Even if you are not stressed, make sure that you find yourself here tomorrow, because all of us feel stressed at times. And we need to be able to beat that before it takes us. Okay? But what a blessing, what a blessing. Well, I believe you have been so blessed that you will make sure that you're here tomorrow night. All right? And we don't want you to rest tomorrow night, because we have planned a rest night for you. And that is Thursday night, okay? Thursday night is our rest night. So we have organized a rest night for you. So tomorrow, make sure that you are committed to be here. And some of my friends that I saw, some of the nights that have gone by, I didn't see them tonight. I don't know, tonight is what, Tuesday night? Yes. Okay, it's Tuesday night, okay. Well, I'll wait until tomorrow night to see if that was just something that happened. But we praise the Lord. Yeah?
So you sent them to bed already?
Lord have mercy. We're all vulnerable, regardless of how much we have faith in God. We're all vulnerable. We need to trust God. We need to have trustful friends. Okay? Let's rise.